Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. Strangle your demons and let's go.
Y'all need Jesus!
Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Hellberg. We already know we have no special talents. We are just passionately curious about all issues pertaining to men. How in the hell did we get here? What are we going to do? And where is it that we are planning to go? Planning is so important. So we're coming to you live from the bustling metropolis of somewhere in Texas. And guys, I have a new microphone. We are live with a new microphone whereby I can do these messages to you and all of us share outside. Yeah, I used to like checking Rush Limbaugh out in the EIB network when he started actually going online. And he was still broadcasting on the radio, typically on AM stations. But then he had an internet presence, so I checked him out in the studio. Man, I thought that was cool. Smoking those big stogies. Of course, he wasn't a small guy himself. And, man, he kind of created a whole new world out there. Like him, not like him. But this microphone, since I do most of my messages from the outdoors, whereby I can feel some flow connected to nature, it dampens noises like that, ambient noises. My neighbors who like to cut their yard, which is cool, I do too. And the good thing is, my neighbors are not that close. But it is fall here in Texas, and we have a preponderance of oak trees on our property. So when the acorns fall, it's great for the deer that proliferate around here, but when they hit the metal roof, it sounds like incoming! On that note, let's dive in. Pain for pain. A pain for pain exchange. When you get pain, do you give pain? And for our next subject, leadership. Can you give pain to your subordinates and or your employees? As a leader, you certainly don't want them to provide it to you. I remember the movie, really it was a miniseries, it was amazing. Band of Brothers, Steven Spielberg. He may have done that one on his own. Of course, Saving Private Ryan, he coordinated that with Tom Hanks. But Captain Winters, what did he say to that sergeant? Never put yourself, in a position to take from your men. They're just doing some simple gambling. So a leader should never put himself into a position to take from those that are serving him. Because in essence, he's really serving them. So let's begin. You want to be a baller, a shot caller, 24-inch blades on the Impala. Yeah, you know the rest of the song. So you want to be a leader instead of a follower. Have you given it much thought? I am of the belief that no one can give something that they have not been given, learned, earned, or received. Not everyone ends up like David. And of course, God needed to make sure that the nation of Israel would go forth, and David was perfect. He was an assassin with those smooth stones. And the rest is history. I think leaders, are they born leaders? Let's digress, back up. I think we can be given godly attributes. Rarely do they come to fruition that young in life. You can see essences of them. But I think the world looks at that like, oh man, they look good. good family, good this and that. And so they end up in these positions. But when the you-know-what hits the fan, are they effective leaders? Depending on what you've done in life, and or it can almost be anything. If the stress is up to a boiling point, typically those kind of leaders, and the ones, I'll go further with that, these are leaders who would rather have the perks of leadership without fulfilling the responsibilities of leadership. So when that cauldron boileth over, they typically fail, and they fail those around them. How many podcasts? We're doing a podcast. How many books? How many YouTubes? How many everything all discuss the aspects of leadership? And some of them are starting to look upon that now in a little bit of a different way. What leadership really means is servant. And we've all heard it, the servant leader. But have you felt it? The responsibility. Whew! I had to pause there for a sec, guys. That took me way back. As a young man, I always envisioned what a leader would look like, in that I wanted to be a leader. And good or bad, I was given the opportunity to do so. Even as a teenager, I ran pools, was a lifeguard, had lied about my age. Guy liked me, gave me a lot of autonomy, ran 3 pools. Then I ended up running a sales organization. You remember those, heck, they're still around, those crazy Cutco knives? Man, I cut more pennies and rope and chopped frozen ground beef at people's homes than taught other people to do it. I had about 40 sales reps at that time, and ultimately didn't want to do the knives, didn't want to be a burden on anyone. Uncle Sam came calling, and Uncle Sam put me in a position of leadership. And then as I transitioned out of there, came home, got into the healthcare field, and then it's almost a whole other lifetime ago, and then had 200 people I was responsible for. But you know what? As good as I was in my chosen endeavor at any of those times, I was not a good leader. And we've talked about it previous, the fear of failure. Mine was so intense, and I wanted the organization to do so well, whatever it was at that time, that I just never stopped working. I did everything. So lead by example? Sure. No one would ever question that. I never stopped. I mean, that was even by that time. I wasn't single anymore. I was married. No children in the picture yet. If I had it to do all over again in that part of it, that chapter, those chapters, man, I would have just taken the time that I spent working, proving my worth so that others could see me lead by example. That is a part of it. But there's so many people smarter and better at you in what they do in your organization. Let them do it. Relinquish the control. Grow and prosper. Become better. Replicate it. Push it down. Replicate it. Push it down. And then ultimately I kind of fell into what I did a ton of over the last 22 years. Somewhat less now. Looks like with the way the economy truly is, I'm not going to have any choice but to respond. But I ended up being a leader of myself. And I would say I'm a much better boss than I am an employee. Just simply because I am so anti-hierarchical. I'm not going to say, hey, embrace that. Hey, let's give it to the man. No. you'll end up not being able to provide for yourself, or you'll not be able to provide for your family. I was blessed. I just ended up in situations where, in some cases, people learned it was better to keep me out of their hair as long as I was proficient. And then I fell into a career where I could go out and perform solo and do it to the best of my ability. And really, that's the culmination of lack of parenting, no parenting, whereby the only authority I came to respect was my own. So to go backwards, no, I wouldn't do it that way again. That is not the way to do it. If you can get there, go for it. Do it well. Put the needs of others before yourself. But even that's not any guarantee in today's world. And along that thought, never turn down an opportunity. Man, I've turned down boatloads of them because in that time, in that element, I was always doing so well, and or I perceived it was just fine. Why would I need to change or consider another way? There's 100 ways to skin a cat, just like my father-in-law has always told me. So unless you're able to ascertain that an opportunity, something presented to you, is of malicious intent, never turn down an opportunity. And that segues into, what kind of leader are you? Would you rather be, as the age-old adage goes, loved or feared? I always preferred to be loved and have my people that I worked with, performed with, executed with, they thought enough of me that they actually feared to let me down. Not in that respect. They would feel bad. And I never wanted to let them down either. So I would say housekeeping rule number 1, be a good leader of yourself. You've got to have your own shit together. And then I would say start at your own home. What good is it if you run a Fortune 500 company and you're on your 3rd wife and your kids don't know you? What good is it if you're the pastor of, I'm not going to say a mega church, hell, any church, and you don't pray at home with your kids? Leadership is an all-encompassing task. The world may define it one way. I told you in previous episodes we would be looking to debunk success and get you thinking something separate. I don't consider leadership anything unless you're trying to be better across the board. And then you can look. Is there fruit? Is there actually a variety of fruit? Not just an apple off one tree. Guys, I hope that gave you room to think. Maybe you felt something that's occurred within your own life. But we have a ton of episodes already planned. For the sake of time, I'll just get into those the next episode, because I don't want to keep you too long. You've been gracious to me with your time. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking with you. So I will bid you bon voyage, my burgeoning flock. Until next time on the Comfortable in Chaos podcast.
Until next time, like and subscribe to the Comfortable in Chaos podcast.